In this video, we will show you how to replace your front brake flex hose on the Chevy Silverado. This is part of your braking system located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. The first thing we need to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done so, continue on to removing your center cover if you have one with a 22mm socket. With that out of the way, we'll continue on to all 6 of our 22mm lug nuts and then remove the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off, we're going to have to make our way along the caliper looking for the bleeder screw. We're going to open this up and wait till we see a steady trickle of fluid coming out of here. That tells us that the bleeder screw's okay, and more than likely the caliper's okay as well. Make sure you have a collection bucket of some sort. Here's our 10mm. Just take this off for a second. We can see a steady trickle of fluid. It's looking pretty good so far. At this point, let's leave this as it is and make our way up inside the passenger compartment. We're going to press the brake pedal all the way to the floor and hold it there with something such as a pry bar. Now that we have our bar in there, we can close off this bleeder screw. We'll set this aside. Moving along from there, we can start paying attention to the flex hose itself. For the flex hose, of course it is mounted to the caliper and to the brake line, but we're going to pause on that and make our way to our 2 mounting points. You'll find you have a mounting point up along the top of the steering knuckle here, and then you also have another mounting point for the flex hose on the upper control arm itself. Let's start in this position here. To remove this bolt, we're also going to remove the ABS wire. Squeeze on the 2 tabs and pull that out of place. You can use some long nose pliers for this. A quick inspection, you do want to reuse this, we'll set it aside. Now that we have that dislodged, let's continue on to our 2 mounting bolts. Commonly, these are 10mm. Ours look like they're 8mm on this application. Inspect your mounting hardware. Go ahead and set that aside. Now we can dislodge the flex hose from the caliper. Before we start removing the flex hose from the caliper, pay attention in this area. If you see any miscellaneous debris, you want to make sure you clean it up so nothing makes its way inside of the braking system. Use a wire brush and some parts cleaner. Once it's clean, continue on with an 11mm for your banjo bolt. When you go to remove this, keep in mind there will be brake fluid in this area. Have a collection bucket under here so you can collect that and recycle it properly. Once you have the flex hose dislodged, the next thing you need to do is pay attention to the caliper itself. We're looking for 2 things. First of all, we're looking to see if we still have some of our previously existing gasket. On this application, it's actually stuck to that banjo bolt, which we'll be removing. Confirm it's not on the caliper and also confirm that the caliper is still in good usable condition. Go ahead and give it a quick wipe. We're making sure that we do not put any debris inside of our caliper. Now we can pay attention to the end of that flex hose. We're going to remove the banjo bolt and those 2 gaskets. Here's one here. We'll set it aside for recycling. Remove the banjo bolt from the flex hose. Typically on this, you'll find you have a second gasket either on the banjo bolt itself or on that flex hose. Make sure there is nothing on the banjo bolt, give it a quick cleaning and inspection, set it aside, you will be reusing it. Now let's follow the flex hose all the way up to where it connects onto the brake line, in front of the control arm attached to the frame. To dislodge the brake line from the flex hose, use a 9/16 wrench. Turn this counterclockwise and fully remove it. A quick inspection of the line and you can go ahead and set that aside. I have a flare end wrench here. Work this back and forth. While you're doing so, confirm that you are not twisting your brake line. If you damage the brake line in any way, you have to replace the brake line. Now that that's broken free, I'll continue on with an open-end 9/16 wrench. After an inspection of that line, we'll continue on with removing the bolt that holds the bracket holding the flex hose in place. Keep in mind when you remove this bolt, it's the last thing holding the flex hose to the vehicle. There it is, friend. Let's clean the mounting area. Once you have those mounting areas cleaned up, we're going to continue on with some anti-seize. Okay, it's time for installation of our brand new front flex hose. Let's take this and put it in position, starting up at that brake line. When you put it in position, you'll find you have a small locating tab and you also have a small slot on the frame. Go ahead and align that and put in your mounting bolt. Get the bracket up and over the control arm here. Align it with its mounting bolt hole. Start in your mounting bolt. Snug it up. Make your way down the line here. Let's get this in place and start in that mounting bolt as well. Now let's make our way up to where it connects to the brake line. Go ahead and start in the brake line fitting by hand. Once it is started in, go ahead and tighten the mounting bolt for the bracket. Right there is bottomed out. Just make sure that's nice and snug. Make your way all the way down to where it connects to the caliper. Down towards the caliper, it's time to prepare the banjo bolt. You can do that by taking one of your brand new gaskets and sliding it in place. With that on the banjo bolt, you'll take it and slide it straight through the flex hose here. Once it's through on the other side, take that other gasket and put it on the opposite side of the flex hose. At this point, you have your flex hose sandwiched in between two gaskets. Go ahead and take this and put it in position up against the caliper. Start it in by hand and snug it up. Now, since these are crush gaskets, you need to make sure that you're bottomed out and then take it an extra quarter turn. Double check to make sure you're completely seated. Let's secure the ABS wire into the flex hose bracket. Once you've confirmed everything's seated properly, make your way back to the bleeder screw. Make sure you have a collection bucket under here. We'll be opening the bleeder screw and allow a steady trickle of fluid to come out of here. Typically, you will see a little bit of fluid come out, and then it'll turn into a whole bunch of small air bubbles. Wait until you only see fluid, and then close it off. After that, you're going to do a manual brake bleed. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Now, to manually bleed your brakes, it's easiest having a second person. First of all, we want to make sure that the master cylinder is full of brake fluid. Secondly, we'll make sure we have a collection receptacle and the proper wrench. The second person is going to be inside of the passenger compartment. They're going to pump up the brake pedal till it's nice and firm approximately 3 times and hold it. When they're holding it, they'll let me know. I'm going to open up the bleeder screw here and we're going to be paying attention to the fluid coming out. We want to see only steady trickle of fluid coming out and no air bubbles. Continue this process until you only see fluid. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump.
Holding.
Go ahead and pump.
Holding.
You can release. Okay, that was several times in a row that we bled the brakes and we had no air coming from the system. At this point, I feel confident that we have only fluid inside of the braking system. Go ahead and remove your wrench and clean your mess. One last quick inspection while we're in this area and we can reinstall the wheel. After you've bottomed out the lug nuts, get the wheel safely back down on the ground. Once the wheel's on the ground, we'll torque each of these lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. If you have a center cover, install that now. To install your center cover, pay attention along the back. You'll find that you have 6 of these little black covers that will align with each one of your lug nuts. When you install these, go ahead and do it by hand. Never use an impact wrench because you will cause damage. Under the hood, we're looking for the master cylinder along the driver's side. We'll give the area along the cap a quick wipe. Remove the cap. Along the top, you'll see exactly what type of fluid to use. .3. Bring this right up to the maximum line. You can see it along the side there. Close the lid. Make sure it's nice and tight. Okay friends, we showed you how to install the flex hose on your vehicle. The process for one side of your vehicle is the exact same thing as the other. Once you have everything complete, go ahead and close the hood and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.